Hello, it's been a while. So I wanted to jump on here and just, quickly get something off my chest. As you can see, if you watch the channel, this isn't the usual production. The lights aren't off. There's no like fancy stuff going on. I literally just turned the camera on and there's no script for this video. So I don't know where this is going to go, but we'll see. I want to talk about something within the Quad Cortex that I think is lacking. And it's a shame because it has so much potential. Obviously, I endorse Neural DSP. I'm a Neural DSP artist. I use their plugins and the Quad all the time. This video isn't saying that I don't like my Quad Cortex. I'm in love with my Quad Cortex. Please don't get it twisted. What I'm referring to is the MIDI capabilities or lack thereof, for a certain example, within the Quad Cortex that I think has really, really massive potential, but all we need is Neural DSP to just add one little thing. I haven't opened up the Quad since tour, to be honest, but this is it. Here it is. This is my pedal board. The only two things that are on it are the Quad Cortex and my Sennheiser wireless unit. I don't use any external pedals. I'm not tap dancing on stage. I come from the era of everything being digital and utilizing, DAW workflows and automation within plugins and stuff to get all the effects and stuff that I want. And with the MIDI scene switching capabilities within the Quad Cortex, there is a lot of room to kind of do that. And even though I'm not connected to my laptop through an interface, even when playing live, especially with the fact that, the plugins that I use are on the Quad Cortex, I can pretty much get my tones sounding exactly the same, whether it be at home or playing live on stage. After having conversations with a lot of people within the modern metal and like progressive guitar, modern music space, I've slowly realized that the ways that I'm utilizing my Quad Cortex, and I know that there are other people out there that are doing the same thing, but as far as I'm aware within my circles, I am using the Quad Cortex in ways that I don't think a lot of people are. In this age where, music is evolving, guitar tones are evolving, every time you listen to a modern metal song, you think, how the hell did they get that tone? The answer is most likely automation, whether that be automation of gain, automation of fuzz, automation of a multi-band compressor, pumping up the highs whenever you strike the string so it feeds into the amp a lot hotter. There's a lot of tricks under the hood that modern bands and modern guitarists are using to get absolutely insane tones. And in plugin world and in DAW world, it's really easy to do that actually. Because it's very hands-free and you just kind of record a DI and let the computer do the rest of the processing, you essentially have the creative liberties to do whatever you want. However, when you play on stage and you need to transfer those tones onto a modeler or into physical gear, that's where it gets a little bit tricky. Especially if you're a princess like me that doesn't want to tap dance and just stand in the same spot the whole night. I'd much rather move around, look at someone in the crowd, make the show a little bit more memorable for the people at the front, because in my mind, that seems a lot more interesting than just standing in front of a whammy pedal the entire night, especially as an instrumental band. The Quad Cortex has two expression pedal inputs, and you can obviously hook up physical expression pedals to the Quad Cortex, and you can make them control pretty much any parameter that you want within any of the blocks within the Quad Cortex, whether that be the gain on the amp, whether that be the mix on the reverb, whether that be just the volume on the volume block. It could be absolutely anything, and you get two slots because there are two physical pedals. But if you don't have physical pedals, these parameters are still controllable via MIDI. So even if you don't have a physical pedal attached to the Quad Cortex for those expression pedals, you can still control the values of them via MIDI from values 0 to 127. 0 being all the way off, 127 being all the way on. I've been using these for a little while now, and this kind of way of doing things in regards to MIDI controlling expression values and stuff like that is pretty commonplace amongst a lot of other modelers, whether that be from Fractal, Kemper, Helix stuff, like whatever it is. But I think that the one thing that the Quad is lacking in regards to those other units is the fact that the Quad doesn't have as many virtual expression inputs that you can control. My two assigned slots right now are going to my pitch control and the threshold of my gate. I'm sure some of you have already seen the video on the channel and maybe even a cheeky little Instagram reel where I'm showing how I'm controlling the gate threshold with that expression pedal MIDI. So basically like my gate is moving to a click with the song, which is really handy. Say like, if there's a really stoppy staccato riff or whatever, and I need to like make sure that the gate is super, super tight. much more tight than what, you know, having feedback in a live room would allow, then I can do that. And then obviously for the whammy, you know, if I'm pitch shifting between songs, which is very commonplace these days, especially within that kind of like modern guitar associated music, you know, using these tools as a production tool or a songwriting tool and really getting the most out of it, and, you know, changing pitches in songs, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, having a pitch control is really, really handy. But that's it. Those are my 2 slots. And those are the only things that I can put on them because the Quad Cortex doesn't have any more. My request to everyone at Neural DSP watching this video, Max, Mike, Josh, whoever it is, if you're watching this video right now, first of all, hello, I hope you're well. Secondly, please consider adding more virtual expression inputs into the Quad Cortex. I know that this is a feature that some people have asked for in the past, but I wanted to make this video to, again, kind of address it as it is, but also show viewers, you know, how powerful this stuff can be. I don't know much about like the architecture of the quad and how it's made and how it's programmed and all that stuff, but I imagine that because it's virtual MIDI and you don't need any more physical units, it wouldn't be too hard to implement just a bunch of other virtual expression pedal stuff. And if that was the case, you know, there's a lot of different ways that we could use them as players and people playing in live bands and stuff like that to really stretch the limits of, you know, getting that production into a live setting, or even just being able to jam in your room and have it be like following the song exactly. There's a lot of things and a lot of like sound effects and stuff like that that bands generally just like keep in the tracks when they're playing live. Shock horror, I know, but it's probably because they just haven't found a good way of like replicating that in a live setting. One really common example of that is like, you know, one of those like low filter sweeps where it kind of sounds muddy and then it opens up and it opens up, and then that's like kind of like your sound effect for the song to kick in or whatever. If we had another expression pedal MIDI, we could just simply assign that to the high cut value on an EQ block and just make it move, all while still keeping the whammy and gate thing untouched. If you're playing chords within a clean section and you want that last reverb tower to be really long before it goes into the next section and kind of bridge that gap and make it seem nice and spacious, if we had another expression pedal input, you could assign it to the mix knob of the reverb and turn it up as you play that last chord throughout the song. You could do it with the feedback trails on delay. You can make it have more feedback and delay more and more and more just for that last note, so it fills out spaces or whatever. This is very surface level stuff. Like, you can get really, really creative with how you would use these expression pedal inputs to get a really high quality sound live. One way that I would consider using it if I had, you know, not unlimited, but like a good number of expression pedal inputs, is that like the whole like multi-band guitar trick where when you palm mute, it kind of ducks around like the 200, 250 hertz region just to make sure that the low end doesn't bloom and be inconsistent. What's to stop me from assigning an expression pedal MIDI input to that band on an EQ block and just making it move up and down with where I'm meant to be playing palm mutes in a song? Again, I know that would take forever and it seems ridiculous to do that, but I guarantee you that if bands could do that, they would do it. Another example, you could make the threshold of a compressor move with the song, kind of similarly to the way the gate does, but say you have like a 2-bar stretch of tapping or something like that, and you really want to dial that in, you could MIDI control that without affecting any other patches to just go really cranked so that it gets every single tap and then ease off again when you go back to rhythm parts. And depending on how intricate the guitar part is, if it's jumping between them all the time, with the MIDI expression stuff, you can just do it instantaneously. Like, it's very quick to move around. I could sit here all day and name example after example after example as to why having more virtual MIDI expression inputs within the Quad Cortex would be amazing. But again, the only people that can change that are Neural. So I hope they see this video. I hope that they're all doing well. And I hope that you guys, even if you didn't really understand the implications of why this could be such a game-changing thing, can now see the potential as to why this would be amazing, especially in a live scenario. Just a quick one, just wanted to get this out there. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Peace.